friend.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like we have no preset intro today, so.
The impudence, the audacity, the unmitigated gall of those knuckleheads of liberty podcasters, daring to voice opinions outside the mainstream of accepted thought. Listen if you dare. It's angry, it's funny, it's even sometimes sad, but it's always based on freedom and justice, as you will see. Here's our host, Jason McPhee.
Welcome to the of Liberty. We're coming at you on February 23rd, 2002. It's a kind of crazy world, but hopefully we can take a little bit of a departure into sports today. But before we do, let me introduce you to our panel. In the left-hand corner, we have Leon, the word Brathwaite, last word in Liberty. He is a retired engineer in the state of California. And in our upper right-hand corner, we have our screaming eagle of freedom, Tim Everett. He is a pilot in the state of California. My name's Jason McPhee, and I'll be your host today. So this one, we're just a little late. We wanted to talk about it the last few shows. We just haven't gotten to it. But, at least for us, we're finally getting to the Olympics. And it's one of those things where, if you missed it, you weren't the only one, I guess, because a lot of people did all that as we go on. But this was kind of an interesting Olympics in the sense that it was one of those politically charged ones again. And the key lead off on it is that Biden did a political boycott of the Olympics. So it wasn't an issue of the athletes not showing up. It was just an issue of Biden trying to make a statement about the treatment of the Uyghurs there. And that's the essentially area of the country that's heavily dominated by a Muslim religiosity people, and they've been treated pretty abysmally by the Chinese government, concentration camps, that sort of thing. So it's not a good thing. And so that this was all done in the backdrop of that, and apparently in that area of the country as well, is my understanding. Boycott. So it's one of those things where I guess it sort of brings up the question of, how much should government be involved in these things? Is it, I don't know. You guys have any thoughts on this whole boycott issue that, Biden had? And
let's look at the results. So I must believe then. I mean, if the government does any good in boycotting, and so it must have changed China's treatment of these Muslim sectors of the country. Correct? It made them stop and think, well, maybe we shouldn't be doing what we're doing. These poor Muslims here. Let's rethink our ways. Let's repent. Is that what happened? And if not, I mean. Other than if that did not happen, maybe it just doesn't matter. And so stop using the Olympics for political grandstanding and trying to gain points with your with your voters that are going to vote for you anyway, because you're Joe Biden, you're a Democrat, and if you're a Democrat, the Democrats will vote for you. It doesn't matter anything else. It doesn't matter what you do, Joe, but it doesn't matter what I tell you either. It doesn't matter what anyone tells you, because you're dumb. You're just flat dumb.
But Joe Biden was not without precedent on this matter, because during the Carter administration, I believe it was the 1980 Olympics in Russia. Actually, that boycott went further than this one. I mean, that one in 1980 it was a diplomatic, and the athletes also did not go. So it was a total boycott of the Olympics in 1980. And now Biden said, well, he was just going to do the diplomatic boycott in protest against the treatment of the Uyghurs. And of course, it always raised, and Tim, you raised a good point as why we're using the Olympics for political posturing. and is it effective in any way? And I really don't have a good answer for that. But then you'll always come back to the point: where do you draw this line? Okay, fine. What is happening to the Uyghurs is horrific by any measure, and maybe we should not condone it in any way. But if we're going to go that route that we are not going to condone it, then we should not engage in the Olympics at all. But which was not our course of action. But if we're going to say, well, we're going to stand up for that which is right, then we should cut off all contact. But we won't do that with China, obviously, because we have too much commercial intertwining with the Chinese government and Chinese businesses. So it raises all sorts of moral issues as to where do we draw these fine lines. Where do we say that life, liberty, and the pursuit for happiness have struck us so hard in the face that we have to put our foot down and say no more? And there are no good answers for this, because, I mean, sure, it's the Uyghurs today, but what if a government who's being somewhat authoritarian? Oh, what if it's Canada? What if it's Canada? Should we draw a line there too and say we will boycott them because of the authoritarian rule of the little dictator to the north? So where do we draw these lines? And that will always be the question that we'll always have to ask.
Well, you know, one of the things I think... Oh, sorry. Hey, go ahead.
I was going to say, honestly, if it was any direction to go, I would say, interact as much as possible, even, especially with your enemies, and especially with the people that are doing wrong things in their countries. Interact and have a discussion, and, be the bigger country, the better country, and go in there and try to, influence the country diplomatically and, by interacting. I mean, because if you boycott them, you're not around them. What's that do? It's not going to influence them, because this is, again, force. They're trying to apply force versus persuasion in getting a country to not to stop doing its ongoing genocide, which is totally wrong. Either you're going to militarily go on, which you have no business doing. So you're not going to do that, okay? So it's not in American interest what they do to their Muslims in their country, okay? It's in the interest of the Muslims in their country that this happens. So if you can influence them diplomatically, then you're going to have to step up and go over there and be diplomatic, and because the opposite thing where you don't go is does nothing, in my opinion. Again.
Well, one of the interesting things this brings to bear too is, this kind of a virtue signal from the Biden administration, and it's kind of funny too, because if he threatened to boycott, having their government here, I'd say, hey, Biden's gonna, he doesn't like what we're doing. He's just not going to show up. Hey, that sounds great. How can we get the Biden administration to boycott their duties here? But the crazier thing though is that, a lot of times we see in Olympics or other sporting venues where individual athletes are making the decision to make a stand one way or another. In this case, it's the government that's sort of giving the stand or the virtue signal. So I don't know. I mean, that does kind of raise some interesting questions, about, should government be doing that? Or maybe this is something people should be doing. But it's funny. The government was literally telling people not to take a stand on this. Pelosi was kind of warning some of the athletes not to take a political stand on some of these things against the Uyghurs, the treatment of the Uyghurs, rather. Because she was saying, hey, we're not sure, we maybe we can't protect you while you're over there. And I know it's kind of like, well, that's one hell of a government virtue signal to say, hey, we're boycotting, but we're kind of scared of you guys too. I don't know.
But the Olympics is a little slightly different animal, in the sense that it is not really individuals participating in the Olympics. It is individuals representing countries that participate in the Olympics. So yes, an individual athlete may go to the Olympics and participate in an individual event. Maybe it's a track and field, or maybe it's, well, in this case, it was Winter Olympics. Yes, individuals may participate, but these individuals are representing countries. That's what the Olympics is about. So then it becomes the question, at what point does the government becomes involved when the individuals participating in the Olympics are representing that particular government, that particular country, whether it's the United States, Russia, China, whatever. I mean, later on, we're going to talk about a particular case, a little complicated case involving this Ellen Gu. But the point is though, is government action necessary when people are representing the country itself? And I don't know the answer to that.
Good question.
Yeah. Well, one thing's for sure, that if anybody is trying to make any kind of a virtuous statement, nobody's apparently watching. These are some of the worst ratings, I think, that we've had in the Olympics. So
yes.
With that. So Sports Illustrated was saying that's the smallest viewing audience ever. And I think they were referring mostly to the television audience, but still, I think overall it is a fairly big drop in audience size. So it really starts to bring the question is if is the Olympics as relevant as it used to be even? I mean, I remember as a kid, it'd be sort of like it was a big exciting thing finding out how America did versus some of the other countries, and you were rooting for people you'd never heard of before. Just to go and compete and bring back gold for America. But is if nobody's even watching, how relevant is this?
Well, is that go ahead.
No, go ahead, Tim. Go ahead.
Well, Leon, both of you probably know, and I'm trying to read it here, but was it total viewership, including streaming as well as television, that dropped? The total viewership?
Well, I am not sure to the answer to that. I know television dropped significantly, but was that the total? And did that include streaming? I am not sure, to be honest.
Streaming increased 78%, and television dropped 42%. So it depends on what the 42% and 78% of what number, and what's the total. Yeah, I don't know either. I guess I'd have to look through it a little bit more, but it would be interesting to find out, because that would, I mean, I know there's a trend toward people not watching things on television. They're watching things streaming.
Yes.
And that's just a general trend amongst media consumption. So anyway, that's good.
But there were some people who were trying to organize boycotts against viewing the Olympics. I mean, the Laura Ingraham show on Fox News in particular was heavily advertising not to watch it on NBC because of the China's action, the Chinese government's action against the Uyghurs. That was one of them I know about them, but there were several others who were trying to organize.
Did they want you to watch Fox? Did they want you to watch Fox News instead?
I guess. But the point is, though, even I mean the streaming versus the television viewership, I can't tell you what the numbers turn out to be, but there were people trying to get viewership boycotts from on NBC.
Okay. All right.
Well, maybe a big reason why we've had less viewership is because maybe there's just a little less patriotism going on with the Olympics. I mean, we literally have in the backdrop of a country that is kind of the big bad guy on the world stage at the moment, which is sort of China and the way they're cracking down on their Uyghurs. And yet we have American citizens who, and not just one, Eileen Gu is the most prominent, but I think there's at least one or two others, I believe, too, who've gone over.
There's at least one other. There's at least one other.
And they're competing for China in the Olympics. So, and gosh, it looks like I got.
What's this? I'm sorry, I didn't read this one. What is this? Who is this Eileen Gu? Is she a performer, an athlete? Is that her?
So
This is
yes,
she is a citizen, born and raised in California. Her mother is a Chinese citizen. Her father is an American citizen, and she became a world-class skier here in the United States. But I believe she has Chinese citizenship and American citizenship.
well,
She decided to participate in the Olympics for the Chinese.
actually, though, Leon, I don't think she could have had Chinese citizenship because I think they have a rule against dual citizenship in China. So apparently, she was, her mom was Chinese, and she said she spent a significant amount of time in China every year. But that's the sort of the big question: is if she was considering herself a Chinese citizen, I guess, then would she be renouncing her U.S. citizenship in order to compete for China in these games? And she's been really cagey about that, apparently, not answering the question directly at press conferences.
Right. She said, well, actually, she said I don't think in the article that you posted, Jason, but she said when she's in America, she's an American citizen. When she's in China, she's a Chinese citizen. She said this. So I'm assuming she has, well, you're right about that. I did read that somewhere that she could not have dual citizenship. But she said her indications were that somehow she has some kind of duality, which I don't know how it would work, but she indicates that she does have that.
Yeah.
So what's this stuff about the evils of capitalism?
Well, she's an 18-year-old. You could imagine the kind of nonsense she'll be speaking.
Well,
But this raises a big issue here. Okay, let's not dismiss the point here. Should someone, an American citizen, she's clearly an American citizen. We know that for a fact. Okay, whether she's a Chinese citizen or not is a slightly different discussion. But should an American citizen born and raised in the United States, who was trained in the United States, but yet choose to compete for a foreign government and then be able to return here and say everything is nice and wonderful? I'm not sure about this. I'm really not sure about this.
Yeah, I think she has the freedom to do that. Yeah, you have the freedom to run around. Well, you really don't. I was going to say run around naked outside in the public, but okay, that's a little far-fetched. You have the freedom to do dumb stuff. So I think if she wants to do stupid stuff, she should have the right to do it and come back unscathed. I mean, the viewership of is down. We know that, and so if she thinks this is important to do this kind of a thing, if she feels more a kinship with China, but loves to live in the U.S., I think actions speak louder than words.
Well, Tim, there is precedent in the past too. Like, for instance, I'm not sure if they were citizens here in the United States, but for instance, in the Sacramento Kings, we had Peja Stojakovic and Vlade Divac, and they went back to I guess compete on the Lithuanian team. I'm not sure, but and they beat the Dream Team in the finals. So that was quite a feat that they did there that year. And of course, that Dream Team, I believe, had LeBron James on it as well. but anyways, it sort of brings up the point. I'm not sure if they were citizens. I know Vlade is still stuck around for quite a few years in management with the Kings. So, I
don't think, Jason, honestly, if my memory is serving me right, I am sure Peja Stojakovic was not at the time. He probably is now, but at the time he was not. And I don't think Vlade was either. They both they were green card holders, as far as I remember.
Yeah, and there were quite a few other, people who played in the NBA who went and played back for their native countries as well. But some of this does bring up the question, at what point, I guess, from a libertarian perspective, we've gone beyond, I guess, the Olympics. Why are we still having these national competitions? Should it be something where we just want to see the best of the best compete in the world? And do we really care? What country they're from, or should we be sort of rooting for one country to best another country? I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
I think it's nationalism.
Yeah.
What's that? Tim, go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's nationalism on display. I mean, it's blatant. I mean, that's all it is nationalism on display. And and maybe Jason would rather see a more focused on the actual personalities And I don't know. I don't know which would be better or worse, and if I don't know what the trend is, and honestly, I don't really know. But Leon, what do you think?
Well, okay. I'm gonna jump off the boat here.
Yeah.
I believe
Hey,
that.
you came over here on a boat, so why not
Yeah,
jump
obviously,
off?
So it must mean something to be an American citizen, okay? It must mean something to be a Chinese citizen or a French citizen, wherever it is you choose to call home, okay? When I was in Trinidad, it must have meant something to be a Trinidad citizen. As a matter of fact, the first line of our national anthem says "Forward from the love of liberty." But the point is though, the Olympics is designed independent of me or independent of any country that I choose to call home, is designed for countries, not for individuals. Now, individuals may participate representing countries. So it is an issue about countries competing against countries overall. That's what's going on. So I think you should have, this is where your sense of patriotism as a citizen of whatever country it is that you belong to, you should represent that country and be proud of it. Because that's what the Olympics are designed. Now, if the Olympics was designed differently, it's just individuals getting together and competing. Sure, I have no quarrel then. I will have no quarrel with Ellen Gu or Elaine Gu or however the hell she pronounced her name, going and participate for China or going and participate if she wanted to. But don't tell me you're an American citizen, you want to go compete for China, whoever big fancy dollars are giving you, and then you want to come back here to the United States and tell me, oh, we all patriotic Americans and we all gonna be hunky-dory and we go lock hands and sing the national anthem together? No.
What do you want to do? Spit in her face if you see her on the street?
No, well, I wouldn't go. No, Tim, I wouldn't.
Okay. Well, what do you want?
I would not.
What do you want, poor Eileen?
I would not go that far, obviously.
Okay.
But if she wants to go compete for China, then go live in China. All right? Go enjoy the benefits of the Chinese authoritarian rule. If that is your wish, I am happy with that. But don't tell me you could just jump from the United States, you go and compete for China, and then you're going to come back here and say, I'm an American now, and I'm going to take all the benefits that involve in being an American? No, I know. That can't
do you think that? Do you think that would represent a libertarian viewpoint? That viewpoint you just spoke of?
Does that represent a libertarian viewpoint? Well, I will defend it as a libertarian in this sense, okay? In this sense.
Okay. All right.
I believe that even though we I believe in sovereignty, okay? That we as individuals have sovereignty over our own bodies, but there are also sovereignties within the states, in the United States, and there are sovereignties within the federal government. And we give up a little bit of rights in order for all of them to function, for the states to function, for the federal government to function. But we, by being here, whatever your choices are, you're still part of your own sovereignty and a part of the sovereignties that are above you, okay? That doesn't mean they rule you. You have given up rights to them and they are still your servants. Now, if you choose, now here we go, you're a libertarian, you choose to leave any one of those sovereignties and go represent some other sovereignty, you can't just walk back in. You can't. You have given up the sovereignty that was embedded in this one. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. You have given it up. That was your choice. And there are consequences every time I make a choice in life. Okay? Every single time. There are consequences to the choice. Right? That's what libertarianism is. There are consequences to choices. This girl made a choice. Fine. I have no problem with her choice. But don't expect not to live with the consequences of that choice.
Well, it's Oh, sorry. It seemed like I might have cut you off there.
No, I gotta let that's gotta sink in. I'll be back with you in a couple months on that. Okay.
Well, one thing that's definitely clear is that was a very strongly held position, and it was very strongly put forth. And if that were on Colorado State's University right now, they would have to put up a sign to let everybody know that. Maybe we could get that image up here because we're on our Knucklehead Noise Patrol. But they would have to let everybody know if you or someone you know are affected by a free speech event on campus. Here are some resources. So apparently, Leon, you might have just triggered some CSU alumni out there. I'm here to tell you, I've been affected by Leon's free speech right there. I am traumatized, and I'm going to need to go speak to someone. I wish there was someone nearby. Here, as I sit in El Centro, California, I wish there was somebody I could go talk to right now because I need it really bad. Well, there are some resources on this board, Tim, and it's possible there may be some phone numbers or
web smog. I can't read it.
Tim, avail yourself. Please avail yourself to all those resources.
I will. I don't know who to send the bill to, but I'm thinking his name is Leon Bradley.
It's just, it amazes me. I mean, here we are, three people with, probably slightly different opinions on the whole Olympic thing. And, maybe, the need to have these nationalistic competitions. But the idea that somebody could be triggered by hearing voices that are just outside of their norm. That's the whole point of college, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
So that you get challenged by other ideas.
Yeah, and they wonder why we call them snowflakes. I mean, seriously, this is it right here. That's why you're called a snowflake, because you are a snowflake.
Exactly.
My God.
An opinion different from your own suddenly triggers you and make, oh my God, Lord, why is this happening to me? Because somebody says something that you disagree with. This is ridiculous.
We almost wonder if Trudeau sits on their board or something and just decided some of these views are unacceptable.
Unacceptable views. Unacceptable views, right?
I think I need a massage after listening to Leon discuss his free speech. I think I should schedule an appointment and get some of these kinks worked out because I'm not feeling good. That's what I would do. If I was a massage therapist, I'd put my name on there. You come over here and see me. I'll get that free speech out of your body.
Well, I tell you, I think we're going to have to give the gold medal this time to CSU for this year, for this competition on being snowflakes, generating snowflakes in their campus.
They get the gold medal.
Yes.
Gold medal. But that's not all.
A white medal. Maybe it's white in color. It should be a big snowflake, and it's the snowflake of the year.
Yes.
Yeah, they definitely are up on the medal stand for sure on this issue. But anyways, I think we've just about come to the end of our show. But thanks so much for joining us, and we're hoping to see you at the next one. Until then, stay free.
Indeed.
Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, always and forever.
Thank you for listening to the Knuckleheads of Liberty podcast. Find us on Facebook, Rumble, YouTube, your favorite podcast network, and